All right, good afternoon. Exactly 32 minutes past 12. Welcome aboard. It is still your favorite show, the Midday Show, right here on your number one talk radio station. It is time, as always, for Parenting Today. Now, Parenting Today is that show that helps to teach us more, enlighten us as regards being the best parents to the best of our abilities. And of course, bearing in mind that it's not just something for the kids, but also for the family. Now, I'm no expert. My name is Paula Chine, by the way. I'm no expert to tell you how to go about these things, but thankfully, I know someone who has the expertise, and she is someone who continuously, goes out to search for more knowledge in a bid to put this amazing content out. She's joining me virtually. She's the CEO of LagosMums. Her name is Miss Yetty Williams. Hi, Miss Yetty. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paula. How are you?
I'm okay. I could be better if you had signed the adoption papers. I just found out you were paying me.
Your character.
I know, right? Now, Miss Yetty, let me just open up the phone line. So if people can call while we're talking, we can take their calls, because someone accused me of not opening up the phone line. So for those who are listening, right, you might have a question or two. You might want to listen to today's topic. I'm going to be telling you shortly. But if you want to join via WhatsApp, you can send us a message or a voice note, or you can even call on WhatsApp. The number for WhatsApp, 0809 2345913, and you can call on the phone line 0201 515 1913, 0809 1913 913. Miss Yetty, today's topic is quite interesting, and you're talking about today's topic, which is the importance of families in navigating life's challenges. Now, I've always heard that family is everything, but is family really everything when it comes to like an individual passing through? I know for me, passing through a hard time, the last time I did, it was family I fell back on. But for some people, they might say, is family really everything? Like, do you think they're that important? We have a caller, by the way. Do you mind if we just quickly take this?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Oh, we lost it. Please call back. I will be sure to take your calls earlier on. But Miss Yetty, if you do not mind, kindly take us through today's topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So May is mental health month.
Okay.
Oh,
nice.
Yes. And after our show last week, we talked about the booked wall.
Yes.
Right, where we talked about it being volatile, certain, complex, and all of those things. And I did get a lot of messages actually after the show as well, with people saying it's good to hear that they're not alone. Right, it's good to hear that the way they're feeling about things is not only them. Maybe they're feeling like, are they being lazy, or is it because they're not resilient enough? But realizing that actually the whole world is different, right? It's more challenging, it's more volatile. It's good to know that there's something, it's a global effect, right? But then this week, while we're looking at the role of family, is an ideal family setup will be your first point of call when it comes to navigating challenges, right? So it's from that perspective. And when you look at families, the mix, obviously there's the parents and the children, but then there's also extended family. And there's extended family, cousins, aunties, and then obviously friends who are like family. Because some people have friends who are literally like sisters and brothers. So it's important to think of it as your ecosystem. Right, like your ecosystem of strength, where you can be vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you're not being vulnerable because you expect people to laugh at you or downplay how you're feeling, but they're actually able to truly listen and be a support for you to help you navigate whatever the challenge is going to be. And if we don't have family members, especially parents and adults in your life, able to have those skill sets that allow them to be a sounding board, what tends to happen is when you face these challenges, if you don't think that your family can support you, you are more likely to look for the support outside, right? And that's where the danger many times comes in. So to answer your question of is family everything, I'll say everything as much as possible if it is working properly.
Wow, I like that. So we're not
Yeah.
bound. It's not a rigid situation whereby, oh, because these are your blood relatives, even if they were to mistreat you, you have to put up with it. I like that, you know. So Miss Yetty, when it comes to families and navigating life's challenges, are we? I want us to make this as relatable as possible. So let me use an example or an illustration of today's Nigeria. Right now, a family of six, of four kids, and the father and the mother, just like us. Now, this might be a family that we know everything, the price of everything is skyrocketing except the increase in salaries. Now, some families might be struggling to adjust. If the parents are on a tight budget, if they can't give their kids that they love so much all of what they're demanding, do you think that families need to know, especially when I say families, like the younger ones, the kids, these ones, do they really need to know what really is happening? Do they need to know the gory details? Do we need to speak explicitly to them? Or should we shelter them from the world and some ugly experiences? Like you tell them, you just keep, beating around the bush and running here and there. Do you tell them as it is?
There's something called, I don't want to use too much big English, right? But in terms of one of the interventions in therapy, it's called an ABC method. And I'll just summarize it, which stands for, the A stands for the activating event. So that means what is the event? What happened? So in the example you've given me, the event is what? Economic challenges, right?
Yes.
Things have gotten more expensive. It's more difficult to do what a family would have wanted to do prior to this economic challenges we're facing. So, for example, with the FX, we know what's happened. And even though the Naira is starting to appreciate, what's happened? Food prices haven't gone down, right? It's not as if the sellers have said, oh, now the Naira has appreciated a little bit, let me reduce the price, Abby.
True.
So that's going on. So the activating event is that things are more expensive, salaries haven't increased. And so it's difficult to live the same lifestyle you used to live prior to this. So just look at it as that. That's just the event, period.
Oh, wow.
Now, the B stands for the belief system related to that event. If, for example, you have a parent who feels that, I'm going to kill myself to continue to offer exactly what I used to offer before, even though it is not possible, what tends to happen? The C then becomes the consequences related to that belief. True. If that parent doesn't adjust, the consequences are they're going to be stressed, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be agitated. They're going to likely take it out on the family members that didn't ask for this economic reality to happen.
True. Yeah.
So, exactly. So it's really about being honest. When you say, should you tell the children, it depends on their ages. You're not going to start sitting a 5-year-old down and saying, do you know what FX means? Do you know that Naira lost XYZ% of its value over the last week? Did you know that there's now a false scarcity? Even though this false scarcity joke, my 5-year-old niece apparently recently told her mom, well, she's not even 5 years. She told her mom that petrol has finished in Nigeria. Because obviously she was hearing all the wahala.
I'm voting for her if she runs for office. I'm voting her in.
She said that at the dinner table one day that petrol has finished in Nigeria. So they're actually picking up much more than you think they are.
Wow.
But my point being, let's go back to the drawing board. Yes, you don't have to tell a 4-year-old every single detail, but if you need to adjust, you need to adjust. And it's about how you adjust. So suddenly having conversations around the dinner table saying, oh, you know what, we cannot do this as often as we used to right now because things are very expensive. My mom and dad right now cannot buy all these things that we used to buy before. Usually that's enough for a child at that age.
Okay. I like that.
Yes. So I think communication and openness is a big part of how families can navigate challenges in a healthy way. It's when you don't communicate, when you don't accept that if things have changed in life, I cannot control what affects them. I cannot control the economic situation. What I control is how I react to it. And what does that mean? Maybe you're going to be buying local rice versus imported rice.
Oh,
right?
wow.
That's a practical example. I remember when we let buy a bag of rice a few months ago, and I got the quote for it. I said, for one bag of rice, I said, it's not possible. They now said, but we can buy the local one, it's much cheaper. I said, so what's the problem with the local one? They said, it's just that it's more dirty, you will have to wash it more. Money and what is the problem in that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we bought local rice.
Ooh.
Does that make me feel any less than or better than because I'm not buying imported rice again? So I really go back to that. What is this event? What has happened? What's your belief system around it? If you feel that things are harder for you, but you don't want to cut back, you don't want to make adjustments where you can, you are going to have the consequences of lashing out, maybe running out of money, and being in a situation where everybody suffers when they don't have to.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Yetty. Sorry, I was kind of taken aback. Now you mentioned two words that stood out to me: communication and openness. Right? If it was to be about the dynamics of, the relationship between man and wife, and transparency in the home, is there a need, just in case, for the kids to know? It doesn't have to be good or bad, but do we as parents have to carry our kids along? Perhaps if you're having a rough patch in your marriage, do you need to be as open and as transparent with them, or do you need to just let things go?
Once again, all of those are case by case, but I always err on the side of communicating, but in a healthy way and an age-appropriate way. So, to use your example, if a couple are having challenges in their marriage, do they need to sit down and call the children and say, you know what, Mom and Dad right now are having a really tough time in the marriage, and I don't think that's appropriate. However, they need to be able to communicate among themselves to say how much of their challenges are they going to allow to bleed on the children. Because if you're having challenges and you don't deal with it, people around you, remember that system I gave, ABC?
Yes.
The consequences of not dealing with stuff is that everybody around you is going to suffer somehow, whether you see it or not. And I dare say that emotional scars are much more difficult to fix than physical scars. If somebody cuts themselves, you can see it. Like, oh, you cut yourself, what happened? Let's clean it with antiseptic. Let's put a plaster on it, right? And then you will check. If you start scarring, what will you do? You probably be putting shea butter and bio oil to make sure that the scar doesn't mark. Unfortunately, with emotional, you don't see it. So if there's a scenario where parents are having a couple, husband and wife spouse are having challenges in their relationship, and it is affecting the home environment, it is toxic. They're always arguing. There is a lot of conflict. You don't have to sit the children down to tell them something is going on. Guess what? They will pick it up. Because they will see the parents are always arguing,
Oh, wow.
They'll see anytime they are around, they are going at each other. So I think it's more important that the couple are able to be honest with themselves. And if they're going through a rough patch, the question should be, what are we going to do about it? If the belief around that rough patch is, well, it's too late, nothing can change, you are useless, this is what you're always doing to me, and you don't try to solve it, we are all going to suffer. If on the other hand, you say, okay, what are we going to do about it? You can then decide what you're going to do about it. And let me give you one example of how we saw this play recently. So a couple were having challenges and the father moved out. But they didn't tell the children anything. They just said the father went for work abroad. The next thing, they found out the children were struggling in school. And when they started getting to the bottom of it, the children said they knew something was going on, traveled for work before, and they came. How come this one was 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, that hadn't come back? But because they were lied to, it was affecting them. In that scenario, what would have been better is to actually say, XYZ is going on right now, and therefore mom and dad are taking a break currently while they try to figure things out. It would still be difficult on the children, but at least they know what is going on. So that's why it's a very case-by-case scenario, but parents have to realize that children are picking up everything in the house. And that example I gave is a real-life example. They thought we were shielding the children by not telling them. So they just said, dad traveled for work. The children were like, daddy has gone for work before, he'll come back. How come 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, dad hasn't come back? What kind of work is this? And the mom kept up with the lie. It affected them eventually.
Wow.
So honesty is always the best policy as much as possible. And I'll caveat it by saying age appropriate.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. I have two messages here on WhatsApp. Well, the first, I don't know if you, this one is a bit off, right? But this is Chief Joe from Oniru. He says, I grew up with my late grandmother in Owerri. When she died, my direct relatives abandoned me. God bless this orphan boy, and I'm a landlord of many properties in Lagos. Now, the people back then are now asking me to train their kids, and when I refuse, they're telling everyone back home I'm a bad person. Madam Yetty, is this family thing really important?
So that is a traumatic event this young man went through, and nobody in my view can make him feel bad for what his current state, which is to say he's not helping them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to free him. If you listen to this, what you're doing, nobody can judge you for it. Mm-hmm. You now need to determine how you want to respond to what you face. You've become successful. Obviously, if they're asking him to train their children, maybe they're having challenges. So he can decide what he wants to do, but I don't think he should feel bad at all about saying that he's not going to help their children.
Oh wow! Thank you so much.
If this person was my client, we would then work through what he wants. But to feel bad or to feel that he owes anybody, he doesn't.
Oh wow! I think Chief Joe, if you're listening, probably you should reach out to Miss Yetty right after the show. Another message says, "Good day, Ma. Please, can you advise us on financial planning and how much to allocate to different things in the family?" Balikis from Okarin.
Yes, that's a really, really good question, and people must allocate. If you never allocated before, the best place to start is to do an audit of how you spend your money. So I'm just going to give it from two angles. One is somebody who's never done like a budget before, and they just spend as the money comes. They spend. Do an analysis maybe over the last month if you can, and if you don't have those records, do it for the next few weeks. Where do you actually spend your money? Then you can start looking at where your money is going. Because some people think that they're not spending this much on that or that, but when they add it up, they realize actually, oh no, I'm spending a lot of money in this area than I thought I was. Now, in terms of breaking down financial planning as a family, you need to both look at your income, revenue, what is coming in as income. Then you need to look at certain things. I would say separate your wants from your needs, right? So your needs are things like rent. So, the things you need, rent, maybe transportation, like petrol, things like that, put them under expenses, food, school fees, things that are not really negotiable per se. Well, food kind of is, right? Because you can decide to buy cheaper products. But overall, the cost of feeding maybe a family of four, you can generally say there's a ballpark figure. After you look at your expenses, you then want to look at, okay, how much do we have to even start saving? Now, some people say 5%, some people say 10%, but I think it's more about when you look at what's left at the end of the day, you can start saying, maybe all we can do right now is to try and save 5% of our income. Maybe you can then say, my goal is to get to a point where we can save 10% of our income. But to get to that 10%, one needs to change. Maybe you need to earn more. You need to change your job. You need to, change the children's school. Sometimes the children's school fees is too much for you. Maybe you need to move their school. So that's what I would advise is do a list of expenses, that's what comes in, and then start to say, all right, how much are we spending on separate areas? How am I going to make sure at the minimum I'm saving 5 to 10% of my revenue currently, and I'm trying to get to a point where maybe I can save 20%. You can push yourself based on what your goal is. And the last thing I'll add is savings is one thing, right? Savings is having enough money for a rainy day.
I like that.
That is not the same as that's not the same thing as investment.
All right.
Investment is making sure that your money is growing.
It's growing as opposed to just, disappearing or
just
moving
saving.
very fast, sitting there. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. It's always amazing. Now, you mentioned friends and anyone who fits the role can be made family. If you can kindly take us through that, because I was just thinking about this Chief Joe. Now, he said he was an orphan with no relative. For such person, they might quickly adopt, strangers who become friends and then family. For those people who are there, what would you say to them as far if you're not related to someone by blood, but they fit the role, how they can handle that?
Absolutely. I think, as human beings, we're social beings, and family, like I
True.
keep saying, the ideal family is a family that's supportive, gives you a safe space, is able to help you through any challenge you might face, raise you to be an upstanding, independent, responsible adult. That's the ideal. But unfortunately, the ideal is not always the reality for everybody, right? So let's use Chief Joe as an example. He was abandoned. I think he said he lost his parents, right?
Wow.
And then he was abandoned. But somebody somewhere stepped in and took care of him, so he became the successful person that he is today. That is his family.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Like, so he can literally do it. I don't think he's struggling with who they are, because it seems like he's quite clear on who they are. They took care of him and they made him successful. I think the question there is people that are quote unquote blood, who are now coming back to ask him to support them after they abandoned him. Right? So that's what he's grappling with. And I would say family is blood, yes, but family is also the people that truly care for you. The people that are there for your best interest at heart is what they lead with. That can be considered family. So I don't think you should feel that they're not family because they're not blood.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. Amazing, amazing, amazing. All right. You know what? I will just give you the time to take us through. I know I've been throwing different questions, but for those who want to still join the conversation, send us your messages on WhatsApp. The number for WhatsApp, 0809 234 5913. All right, Miss Yetty, you may proceed.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap up, today's show is really around the role of families, right, in navigating life's challenges. So I want to break it into two as we wrap up. There will always be challenges in this life. There will always be challenges. What we're saying is that families play such a critical role in how we navigate those challenges in the home environment or as a family. And that comes from communication, openness, accepting the situation. So there's some situations you cannot change. However, you can change your beliefs, you can change your actions in response to the challenges. So I would just reiterate one of the examples we mentioned on this show, economic hardship. Okay. That is a reality currently for a lot of people. Things are expensive, salaries haven't increased, yet you're supposed to continue to take care of the family for the future. What do you do? The worst thing you can do is to ignore that these changes have happened, because ignoring means that you don't adjust. And if you don't adjust, the stress will get very overwhelming and make you a less pleasant person to be around, and therefore your family will suffer. So really being honest about things. What has changed? What can you truly afford or not afford? What do you need to adjust? And be proactive about it so that you're not reacting. You're not angry all the time, shouting at the children, shouting at your spouse, just because of the level of stress you are facing. I'm not saying it'll be easy, and acknowledging doesn't mean that you have the answer. But guess what? It's a step in the right direction. And if children see how mom and dad handle challenges, guess what? Those are the best teachers for them. They see that, you know what? When something challenging happens, my mom and dad sat us down calmly, told us that, guys, at this point, we can no more buy this brand of this. We're going to be buying this brand because it is cheaper. And because things are so expensive now, we have to save money. When we go to the supermarket, we're only going to shop with a list. We're only going to buy the things we absolutely need. Maybe once a month, when you go, you can buy something you want, like a toy or candy. Is that not a helpful conversation?
It is. It does.
So I think approaching it that way takes some of the things away from the challenges we are facing.
Wow. Okay. I like that, Miss Yetty. Thank you so much. It's always amazing having you on here. And to anyone who's listening, right, you might want to send a message quickly. We have 3 minutes. If you want to send a message, be a part of the conversation. There are ways you can join the phone lines. The numbers you can call 0809 234 5913, 0809 191 3913. Thank you once again. If you do not mind, can you just, give closing remarks and maybe let people know how they can get across to you? Chief Joe has indicated that he'll reach out because I told him to do so.
Fantastic. Absolutely. So what I would say is remember the ABC I talked about.
Yes.
A is Activating event. What is the event? What has happened? Just list it like that. B, what's the belief system related to that event? What do you believe about it? What's going on in your head about that thing that has happened? And then C, what are the consequences as the result of that belief? When you can break it down like that, you can start saying, all right, what do I need to change? What do I need to work on? What do I need to adjust so that I'm in a better place than I currently am? So that's my takeaway to summarize the ABC of identifying what exactly is going on in your life right now. Right?
Wow.
And then in terms of how to get in touch with me, we're on at LagosMums on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And our website, LagosMums.com, has a lot of resources on parenting and family life in the digital age. So I hope anybody who needs additional support can reach out to us that way, and I'll be happy to help.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Yetty. And it's always an amazing pleasure having you on here. Thank you so much for keeping us enlightened and furthering your research, going over and beyond to bring us the most updated versions of what we ought to do and what we should do away with. The times have changed, and parenting today teaches us to move in accordance with that. With that being said, Miss Yetty, I'll miss you, but have an amazing weekend. It's great to hear from you. All right.
Have a lovely weekend. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye for now. This is Parenting Today, every Thursday from 12:30 up until 1 p.m. We'll find out all of what's going on and what needs to be done as regards proper parenting. You want to make sure you're doing the right thing. You want to make sure that in your bid to instill discipline, you're not going over the top.